Do you ever notice when we talk about pipelines in Canada that we always talk about supply, not demand? And a lot of that has to come, well, it comes out of Alberta because Alberta has the third largest oil reserves in the world. 170 billion barrels of bitumen up in the northern Alberta oil sands. So just assume that the more we get to the market, whether it's in the United States or internationally, that there will be customers for it. I would like to test that assumption because we always talk about supply. We never talk about demand, and we should. So let's start with the American market. 10 million barrels a day of demand for global heavy crude in the world. 5.5 million barrels a day of that demand is in the United States, and we are the big players. 3.2, 3.3 million barrels a day, around 65% of the market. We don't like that market. Why? Because, Donald Trump and his tariffs, he's made it difficult, he's made it uncertain. Maybe he'll slap on higher tariffs down the road. Okay. But not only that, we take a lower price because we only have one customer. We've been complaining about the differential between West Texas Intermediate and Western Canadian Select forever, as long as I can remember. We want more customers. Oh, okay. So we don't want the US, even though that is where we are clearly the most competitive barrel. We beat out anybody. Well, we don't want any more of that. 3.2, 3.3 million barrels a day. That's what we want to stick at. Outside of the United States, China and India are far and away the biggest markets, really the only ones to worry about. India, not competitive. We're rarely going to sell anything to India. Too far away. A lot of their refineries can't handle our heavy crude, which is heavier than they like, etc. China, marginally competitive. We're already selling some stuff there, but 300,000 barrels a day thanks to the Trans Mountain Expansion Pipeline, and that'll be optimized. I'm sure we're going to increase the amount into those markets. China's going to add 1 million barrels a day of demand for petrochemicals by 2030. We'll get some of that. So there is some demand, but remember, we have competitors, right? Saudi Arabia sells Saudi heavy in there. Iraq sells Basra heavy. There's lots of other suppliers. It's not like WCS is going to show up and kick all the other players out of the market. It's a marginal barrel. Under certain market conditions, yes, it will do very well. It will sell some, but otherwise not. So we're in this really weird situation where you know, the market we do have and market where we're most competitive, we don't want any more of it. In the markets where we do want, we're not competitive or we're marginally competitive. This makes no sense. But we never talk about demand. We never ask the customers, or we never ask the question, will there be customers if we build a pipeline to the coast? We just assume it. We should stop assuming that. Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about. In addition to that, we've got the global energy transition underway. The International Energy Agency says we're going to have peak oil demand by 2030. 45% of all oil demand is road transport. So light duty, heavy duty, medium duty, all garbage trucks, etc. Two-wheelers, three-wheelers, on and on. Okay, here's the problem with that. Um, China is busy electrifying the global transportation sector. And not only is we're seeing EVs take off in Europe, less so in North America, like in the United States, Canada, a little more than that. China is hell-bent on electrifying its auto sector very quickly. We're already, like last year, I think their demand there was 11 or 12 million this year, and that was 50% of sales. This year, they're looking at 65, 70% of all sales will have a plug-in. And but the key here is the global south. So we're talking about Africa, Latin America, and most of Asia. We'll throw China in the global north because I don't think it belongs in the global south anymore. Anyway, China is moving out into the global south in a huge way, thanks in part to the Americans' indifference, basically. And you shut China out of American markets with EV tariffs and solar panel tariffs. Where are they going to go? The global south. So they're down there building EV factories, building assembly plants where they send the parts out and local workers put the cars together, investing in infrastructure, so they can export more and have the power to power all those EVs. So that's why the China is basically disrupting the auto industry in a big, big way, in a way that we here in North America just don't understand. We've got our heads in the sand and we're pretending that it's not happening. Trust me, folks, it's happening. I've interviewed enough experts, seen the data. It's happening in a big way. So if China disrupts the auto industry, what is upstream of the auto industry? It's the oil industry, because the oil industry provides the feedstock to make diesel and gasoline. So as you take cars out of the global fleet, you displace them with electric cars, naturally fuel demand, your demand for road transport fuel is going to drop. Bloomberg NEF forecasts that global road transport demand will peak in 2027. So here we are, by not paying any attention to customers, we've got two conundrums on our hand. One, we're in the market we don't want to be in. And we want to get into a market where we're uncompetitive or marginally competitive at best. So we got a problem already with our marketing strategy. And then on top of that, we're completely ignoring a major change in the global energy system and in the structure of the auto industry, which supplies 45% of our demand. This is crazy. If we're going to talk about a pipeline to the West Coast, to the East Coast, to the North Coast, wherever it is, if we're not talking about customers, if we're not talking about demand, we are headed for trouble.